Hey, it's Alex
and Bella
from Let's Not Sugarcoat It, a podcast where each week we bring you real, raw, and unfiltered conversations.
Our guests share their life's journeys in entrepreneurship, relationship, parenthood, and much, much more
in an authentic and raw way where no one sugarcoats life's messes and successes.
Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of your favorite podcast apps, and tune in every Wednesday for new episodes.
Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Tees. With our inspirational tees, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Tees. Get some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Tees at dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James. And on my podcast, my guests and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. We believe that the relationship between a dad and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Let's get to it. Let's tune in. Hey, welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I am your host, Earnest James, and I believe that the relationship between a daughter, a father, and his daughter is one of the most important relationships in a young woman's life. And therefore, our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and to give love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you listen, like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on all of our social media pages at the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Also, follow us on our YouTube channel. We share a YouTube channel with our partner podcast, the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. So if you go to YouTube and look up the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast and go to that channel, you'll find our podcast playlist for the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, as well as the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. And make sure you subscribe because there's more podcasts that we will be adding to our channel. So make sure that you guys check that out. Also, I'm going to tell you guys how you could win $100 from the podcast, but you got to stay until the end of the episode in order to get that information. So today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Mr. Alex. How you doing?
Hey, E. James, man. Thank you. Grateful to be here. Appreciate your invitation to be on the show and have this conversation.
No problem. No problem. First of all, let me say thank you because you could have been doing anything with anyone else, but you're here with us and we definitely appreciate it. So do me a favor, Alex, introduce yourself to my audience and just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm a I'm a coach, executive coach. I work with leaders across the world and help them in different areas with communication, with sales mindset, with marketing, things like that. So that's been my role for past 5 years, 6 years, since 2018. And that's kind of the cliff notes of that, right? That's the big headline of that. But the most important things to really know about me is that this lady behind me in this picture here, that's my wife Sarah. So we've been married for 14 years in January coming up, and together for 18 years, and we have two beautiful kids together, our daughter Juliana, who's 13 right now, and our son AJ, who's 8 years old. And we have a couple of dogs. The main thing that is important for me is impacting people's lives, helping people transform, and solopreneurs, people in executive spaces. So I have my own solo podcast called Love Serve Care. I run an organization called the BIPOC Coach Collective, where I'm part of the leadership team there. So we're amplifying coaches of color around the world, their voice, of helping them grow their business, advance in professional development. So there's a lot of different plates that I spin, but the most important one is obviously just being a husband and a father.
All right. So just for my own clarity, when you say coaches, you mean like teaching coaches, like the coaches that
yeah, like
coaches, should I say?
Yeah. Think of Les Brown, ET, leadership
Okay,
coaches.
cool.
I do keynote speaking as well. So yeah, I'm not going to be teaching how to hit a baseball or or how to shoot a jump shot, but yeah, coaching of the mind, coaching of the spirit.
Okay, I just want to make that clear because I'm a speaker myself. So when you said coaches, that's the first thing came to my mind. And I was like, well, let me just clear it up a little bit because especially as dads, a lot of us do coach sports wise for our children and things like that. So I just wanted to clear that up real quick. And so you mentioned your daughter. So how many daughters do you have, and what are their names?
Yeah, just one daughter. Her name is Juliana, and she's 13 years old at the time of this recording.
All right. Teenagers, good luck with that.
She's been preparing us for the last few years. She's been preparing us since she was 3. She was a definite a 3-nager, as as affectionately called it. But she's a wonderful young woman. It's really wild to me that I got chosen to be her dad. Like, divine spirit, all that kind of stuff. I'm a man of faith, so God put me in place to be her dad, and I haven't been disappointed since.
All right. So let's go back a little bit. How did you even find out that you were going to be a dad? And was that something you guys were planning, or was it just a surprise to you?
Yeah, this is definitely a surprise for both of us. So to give you a context for this, me and my wife, we started dating in 2006. We got engaged December 2007. So almost 2 years, just dating and being together. And then we decided, all right, in January on our anniversary date, that's when we're going to get married. So that was coming up in another 2 years. So we were doing all the planning, getting everything arranged. And fast forward to December 2009, we're a month away from the wedding, right? January 9th is our day. And I remember I was getting ready for work. I was a manager at a residential group home at the time. So working with special needs individuals, people with autism, cognitive impairment, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, that kind of stuff. I'm getting ready to go to work. It's just a normal, regular day. I think it was like a Tuesday morning, just nothing, just basic, right? And my wife was like, "Hey, fiance at the time, she goes, "Hey, I think I'm late. Like, I just took a test and it's got these 2 strips on it." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Right? I'm trying to do the math in my last time she had, and so like, no, go take another test. She takes another test, and like the reality started sinking in. I remember distinctly, I was making eggs on the stove because that's what I like to eat and drive, eat on the run. And I just remember standing there frozen, just stove. Like my whole life, like I'm like, oh my God, I'm not ready to be a dad. That was probably the main. I'm like, I'm not ready for this. Wait, whoa, we're getting married. This is not supposed to be happening, right? This timeline is not supposed to be this way. And I wound up burning the eggs because I stood there for probably 5-6 minutes, and I can only imagine, like, looking back, I feel terrible for her because she's probably like, oh my goodness, like, is he gonna like come back?
Right.
like, like, does he need life support right now? Like, he needs a mask on, like, because he's, I'm not looking too good. But I realized, like, oh, I have to go to work, and I drive the whole way there with no music, just silence. And anybody who knows me, I love music. I'm always blasting stuff. I'm in complete silence. It was maybe the longest ride, like a 20-30 minute ride. I'm just thinking the whole time, like, oh my God, like, my life has changed. I'm going to have a kid. What the hell is going on? And, come to find out as we go to the, I can't think of the name of the doctor right now, like, whatever, that, OBGYN, right?
Yeah.
We started figuring out that, my wife has this high risk pregnancy, like just some potential complications, like the baby actually might not make it. She has to go on medicine right away. She had to go on bed rest for pretty much the entire pregnancy. Oh my God. Like, it was a lot of chaos. It was really heavy in that moment, but we obviously we went through with the wedding. We got that done, so it was a great time. I felt bad for her because she couldn't enjoy open bar, and that was one of the main things that we were excited about. So you'll see in the picture behind me, we have our glasses clicking. She's got ginger ale. I got the real champagne. It was a beautiful day. But after that, her being on bed rest, and then fast forward August 11th, this little baby girl comes into the world, and that's when real fatherhood started.
Right.
I mean, it
Yeah.
started at the moment at the stove, and then having her in my arms, like seeing her, just holding her. And I know I'm saying a lot right now. I just want to share with you this funny little story real quick. So as we were doing sonograms and things like that, we're making sure that the baby's all right, because there was a significant issue with my wife. And I told her one day, I'm like, oh, the baby's a girl. Even before we had anything confirmed, she's like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm telling you, it's a girl. I know I've been saying I want a boy, right? Because that's, and most men, I would think, be like, yeah, boy, get my little guy. And I was definitely posturing up pretty heavy, like, yeah, I'm gonna have a boy. And then one night I had a dream about me holding this girl, like this little baby girl. I don't remember vividly like what she looked like, but I just remember like it was a girl. And I told her that the next day. I'm like, she's a girl. She's like, no, it's not. I'm telling you, we can put money on it. I know what I saw. And sure enough, maybe a week or so later, we're in the office, and congrats, you're having a girl.
Yeah. That's going to be actually one of my next questions, which is cool. So I also go back a little bit. Since you guys knew at the wedding, did you guys share at that time with everyone else that you were expecting, or you're just like, all right, we're just gonna keep this between us?
Yeah, we did. Actually, it was funny because it just popped up in a Facebook memory a little while ago, where we found out early to mid-December. And so with my parents, when my mom was alive and my dad, he's still here, we had given them a box of a sonogram, and they were like, wait, what is this? And like, it's only a little bean at this point. Like, she's like, that's our nickname for her. Like, I'll call her Juju Bean, because like she was like the sign of, first time we saw her was the size of a little bean. And then they finally connected the dots, like, oh my God, we're gonna have a grandbaby. Like, yeah, everybody was excited. And I think we told my wife's father, her side of the family, about the same thing. So, but for the wedding, we pretty much kept it under wraps for the most part. Like, my groomsmen knew, and only a select few really knew at that point. But that's how we broke the news to them.
Cool. So I know you said your daughter's a teenager now, but let's go back. I know you mentioned about holding her for the first time. Just how was that process, and that bonding time? How was that whole thing when she was an infant? Maybe from brand new baby up to like 1 or 2. Like, how was that experience for you? Being a father, especially being a girl dad for this young girl, and kind of learning yourself at that time, because like you said, you weren't prepared, which we never are. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's spoiler alert.
But
We don't get
but
the handbook.
from finding out, from with the eggs, and then now she's in your arms. How was that journey?
Yeah, the whole preparation was just, it was wild to me. I mean, I was doing what I think most involved fathers would do. I'm reading like what to expect when you're expecting, going through the classes, going to the hospitals, and just learning as much as I could, and talking to some other dads about it. And I would say right away, I mean, this right, she's had me wrapped. I mean, I'm a whipped girl dad through and through. Like she had me, from the moment I knew. And then yeah, when she was born, it was, I didn't cry or anything like that, but it was powerful for me, because just hearing her scream, like hearing her like cry and whine, I'm like, oh, like she's here, like for real, for real. Like this is not this is not a simulation. This is the
Right.
real, this is a real deal. And I just remember like those first couple of years, it was just so much fun. I had so much fun with her. I show her videos all the time of me like messing around with her, like making her talk, and like just having her do silly things. And it was just a real bond. And I knew that was important, not only just for her, but for me too, to really be connected. And in the midst of that were some heavy challenges too, because like I alluded to before, my wife is on bed rest, so that's half our income gone. So I wound up picking up a second job. So I'm already working at this group home, pretty tough work already. Then I get a job as a personal trainer, and I'm away from the day pretty much from like 6 a.m. to like 10 at night, right? And that's just that's like basically 4 or 5 days out of the week, just doing that, coming home, trying to help my wife too a little bit, spend some time with the baby. Obviously the weekends being with the two of them. And it was tough. It was so challenging, but I would never trade that, because the time I did have with her was really impactful. And then once my wife got to work and our schedules, we kind of overlapped each other in a sense. Like I would work kind of late morning to the evening. She would work morning to the afternoon. So she would be Jules would be me for some time. She would be with my wife for some time, and then my wife's mom would help out in the middle of the day. And it was a beautiful time. I loved having those moments with her. Just we have 3 or 4 hours, so I've taken her to the library all the time as a little kid, and now she's a voracious. I mean, she's always been, but even now, watching now, she's like a super voracious reader. She just destroys books in hours and days. And I'm like, oh yeah, I laid down that foundation for her, because we were in a library at least once a week. There was always like kid classes, and we were always reading together. I was always, I definitely poured a lot of energy into her, because I had this, she was kind of like my toy. She's this new thing. And I just wanted to make sure that she knew she was safe and also loved. That was super important for her, and for me too. Because the one thing I would say is that what I experienced was the bit of that, the anger I felt was because my life had to change. I didn't want to change. I don't want to turn my life upside down. And like, everybody cares about the baby. Everybody's like, hey, first thing, you call your parents, you call your siblings, you call anybody. Hey, how's the baby? How's the baby? Like, what about me? Right? Like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm frustrated, but I love this kid at the same time too. So that took a lot of it. She helped me grow up a lot of not being so selfish. And even the times that we had together, I look back now like, man, I wish I wasn't playing like video games or being immature, but I'm not going to hold those regrets. It's it is what it was. But we also had a lot of fun times together. We would play with the dolls and do the tea parties and all that stuff, man. I watched Tangled and Dora the Explorer. I was all in with these shows, Sophia the First, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. So tell me something that I know you mentioned about even laying down that foundation for your daughter to now that she reads. She's an avid reader. But I would say as we are teaching them, they're also teaching us, right? So if you can think of something, tell me something that maybe your daughter has taught you, as just being a girl dad, just something that you learned from her that may have even changed you for the better, as I like to say.
Yeah. I would say she's helped me recognize is that I wasn't as patient as I thought I was. Yeah, I working in the field that I worked at for a number of years, right, with individuals with these special needs, and then having your own flesh and blood responsibility. Yeah, she told me that I really have to slow down my mind, really assess the situation, really see what's going on before I jump to a conclusion, and recognizing like, oh yeah, if I get my temper out of control, if I yell, if I'm screaming or I'm fussing about something, I gotta let that go. I can't carry that with me because kids are really smart. She'll be like, man, something's wrong, like dad's off. You know what I mean? Like they want to be with me, and like I can't hold a grudge. I can't be like, you know what, you spilled this cereal on the floor and you made me have to do this, right? I can't. She made me realize I can't be a victim to my circumstances, and I think that's the best gift that she gave me.
Yeah, and I definitely can comprehend with that thought process. I myself also work with special needs individuals, and I remember one day on the job, and I'm working with this one gentleman, and he just was having a bad day, should I say. He was having a bad day, right? So he was really kind of acting up, and it really upset me. But then in a second, he's in a good mood again, and that same realization, it wasn't my daughter, but it's that same realization, like, what, I can't hold him responsible for, me being upset, because especially him doing something that he probably didn't even recognize, that was making me upset or whatever, but yeah, that's one of the things that came to my mind when you mentioned that. Yeah, because even with that, even with our children, I definitely think I'm a patient person. I think I got it honest from my mom, because my mom definitely was one of the most patient people that I've ever met, And so yeah, but your kids push them boundaries, and they make you realize, what, I still got a little more to go.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
All right. So, as a dad, one of the things I mentioned on this podcast is one of the things that I wish I could do over. When my daughter was younger, she had a daddy-daughter dance, and I was like, all right, cool, but I had to work, and so I said, well, I will miss this one, but I'll catch the next one. And at the time of this recording, my daughter is on her way to being 21 years old, and there never was the next one, And so that was one of the things that still bothers me. I don't think it bothers her at all, but it's still one of the things that bothers me just as a dad. And although your daughter's still young, but she's a teenager, and like I said, they're teaching us as we're teaching them. So just as a dad now of a teenager, is there something that maybe you regret as a father that you said or done, or just something that you was like, maybe I could have did that one a little different? And the reason why I asked, because I like to have these conversations, because my very first guest that I had on the episode was a brand new father, like brand new. So at the time of us recording, his daughter may have been like 2 months,
Oh wow,
So
yeah,
I
that's like
always
fresh.
think of him, yeah. So I always think of him when I'm doing these recordings, and it's like I want to leave something for the up and coming fathers too. I just don't want to. I want to make sure that we're giving some kind of value that the other fathers can take from it. So yes, of course, I definitely want to talk about our triumphs as fathers, but then, I also want to share that we don't always get it right, and
Yeah.
it's okay to recognize that and learn from each other's mistakes if that's the case, so that we can do better. So if you have anything like that, where maybe you just want to be like, yeah, maybe I could just did that differently, any stories like that?
Yeah, for sure. A major story that is a big. If I could get a do over for that, I would for sure. This happened in November 2018, right? So at the job I was working at the time, I was a program manager for this coaching company, and we were going away for this live event. So I live in North Carolina. This event was in Washington, D.C. So we left that morning. It was a Tuesday morning, right? Something about Tuesdays. Tuesday morning, we leave. I say bye to everybody, and we drive out there, and we're on site. We're setting up the whole event, this and that. And I get this call. I get a text from my wife, and right away I was like, "Oh, something's off. Something's wrong. I don't know what it is, but something's major off." And we speak on the phone, and she tells me that Jules has been in a car accident. And my first thought, the image I had was like, "Oh my gosh, she got hit by a car, and I don't know if she's alive or dead." Like literally, I dropped to the floor. I just, my whole like the record scratch moment, everything stopped. Come to find out that she was in a van in her after school care. It was in a collision, and the daycare driver, she passed on site, like right on impact, and the driver of the other van, he was high on drugs. He was on, doesn't matter what he was on. He was on stuff, and he crashed into this car. So my daughter and several of these other kids, they had to climb out the back of of the van. Right, there's adults on site that, thank God got to site. I mean, she was no more than like a mile away from the house, heading back to this daycare. And I got, once I got the details, and I made the decision to stay at the event, right? And at the time I rationalized like, well, I don't have money. How am I going to get back? I didn't drive my car. I'm with the staff here. Like, how is this going to work? Like, and it really wasn't that. It was just, I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to deal with that. And not that it wasn't important for me. I'm like, oh, wait, she's alive. She's not dead. And these are all the rationalizations in my head at the moment, right? And I think the only way that I knew how to cope with something like that is dive into work.
Right.
I just immersed myself into that, and I was checking my wife, but like she was handling all the stuff. She had to set up the therapy. She had to set up getting my daughter back, figure out a new daycare because she couldn't go back there. Right? It's just this event has happened. How can she see all these people again after something like that has happened? And she's witnessed somebody die, like literally die in front of her. And she had a concussion. She wasn't, thank God she wasn't injured too badly, right? It was more the psychological things. And for a while dealing with that afterwards, anytime we saw like sirens or any accidents on the road, it would trigger her. She'd like would freak out a bit. So, we got her some therapy, and it helped out tremendously. But as a dad, I didn't put on the cape in that moment. I decided to be Clark Kent and not Superman. Whether it's right or wrong, whether somebody hearing this can be like, oh my God, what are you doing, you coward? Listen, I made the only decision that I thought I could reason out in that space. And yeah, it's one of those things that I wish that, God, man, if I had enough chance, I would have taken a train, I would have hitchhiked, done whatever. But I didn't. That's what it is.
Yeah. And even with that, I don't think it's a right or a wrong in the midst of that, and in the midst of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hindsight is 2020. We all talking about, oh, you mean I would have did that? Yeah, no, I don't think you would have. And then as dads, we have to juggle a lot of hats even in the midst of it. So like you said, while on one hand one hat of dad is okay. I need to, make sure my daughter's all right. But on the other hand, you have to think of from the being a provider also. Like, yeah, we really can't afford not to, I can't afford not to be here. So it's a lot of things
Right.
that you have to juggle even in the midst of it. And so I thank you for sharing that, because that's a reality as fathers. We have to make the best decision, not just for us or one area. We have to make the best decisions for all the areas at the same time.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
unfortunately it may not balance out, in the forehand, but maybe it balance out more in on the back end of it. And so that's just one of those things that we as dads have to do. We have to make those hard decisions. And you know like I said, even as I shared, me being like, okay, I got to work, and 20 years later, still haven't made up for that one thing, or to me, and like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
something that I carry. I don't think she's worried about it, but it's still something that I carry. And but in the midst of it, like you said, that same thing with me was like, I really can't afford not to, to do
Yeah.
this here, because I still have to be a provider. And so those just the decisions that we have to make as fathers. Um, so that being said, on the flip side of that, you have a teenager, and she's an avid reader, and I know she's a great kid. And even when you look at that, what is one of your biggest accomplishments that you feel as a father when you look at your daughter and say, I did something right? You know what I mean? So what's one of those things you can look at it and be like, just take the credit for, yeah, that's my doing right there.
Yeah. I would say when she sings, right? Because she has a really beautiful voice. Sometimes she doesn't feel confident in herself, but every now and then I'll catch her. She'll be like, she'll be spirit. She'll sing. It might be some commercial music, might be some rap music, whatever. I don't really care, but I love when she's in that element where she can just feel free. And I'm like, all right, I'm doing something right. I'm doing something good, And when I when I catch her intentionally being like very kind to people, I think that's one of the things I really love about her the most. Is just her kindness. Like she has a really sweet heart, And it's not because she's my baby girl, right? It's like if I saw her in in passing somewhere, I'm like, wow, she's like, this is a really nice kid. Like she's a really nice girl, and she just cares about people. And I tell this all the time. I think it's one of the big things that kind of keeping that new father in mind, right? That you mentioned earlier. I think that's one of the biggest things that we can gift our kids is affirming them and building them up, but also connecting it to real things. It's one thing to be like, wow, you're a nice kid, you're smart, you're funny. Okay, those things can kind of feel like shallow, but like if you really connect the dots of like, hey, you know what? I saw how you were talking to your brother today. Case in point, right? This is real time. Just today I told you like we were out and about shopping, this and that. We're recording this like a day after Christmas, so they added a little money, so they're feeling good about themselves, so they want to spend. And her and my son were at cats and dogs. They're at ends, right? And that's not an isolated thing. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
There's a relationship. Cats and dogs, they fight, they butt heads, all that kind of stuff. And he wanted to buy something, and she's like, you know what? I'll take some money out from what I have, and I'll buy that for you. And so I haven't had a chance to talk to her yet about it, but what I'm going to say to her is like, you know what? You're so kind because you think of him. You even through the midst of y'all fighting, arguing, all the chaos between you two, you still find it in your heart to look out for him, right? And that's a big thing. I want her to like have that in here and in here, like, oh, hey, I'm kind because of these things. I these are real tangible things. These are real experiences and real value that she adds to the world. And so that's those are the couple of things that come to mind when I think about her. Like, well, yeah, I've done it. I did a good job. Like,
Right.
pat on the back for that.
Right. Hey, we got to take it what we can get them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take any victory for sure.
All right. One last question before we go to our next segment. Just overall, as a girl dad, and the whole experiences that you've had so far, and even more to come, what does it mean to you, in your own words, to be a girl dad?
Gosh. I forget. I think it was Chris Rock who said this, that the relationship that I have with my daughter is going to be the most important relationship with her in her life. And that sounds heavy. And it is. It's a lot of weight to it. Just it's a big deal, right? To be not only just a father, but the father to a young lady, right? Every relationship she has with another man is going to be kind of, I'm going to be the prototype of that.
Right.
And that puts, honestly, it puts the pressure, but it makes me recognize like the standard of excellence that I'm setting up for her future spouse in some capacity, right? And she's at this phase right now, like, oh, she's got her eyes on boys. Okay, I knew this is coming at some point. But
Yeah.
I think she has that foundation within her, know like, oh, she's not going to just, she wouldn't introduce just any kind of regular dude off the street. Like, she knows like, hey, if I have my eyes on somebody, and I got to come correct with it, and
Mhm.
and bring, bring I don't say worthy, but I'll just put it this way, like someone worthy of her, right? So I
Mhm.
think for being a girl dad, that's been my biggest responsibility, is making sure that she knows that she's loved, that she's valued, she has a voice, that she can speak up for herself, that she can defend herself, and that she doesn't have to be a superwoman, right? She doesn't have to take the whole world on, right? She can ask for help. She can do these different things that I, as a young boy growing into a man, didn't feel I could do. I can express myself. I can say how I felt about things. And I just want to, I think the biggest thing is to know, like, even in this space right now, is as she becomes a teenager and soon to become a young adult and out of the house and on her, living her own life, that she can always come to me. That there's nothing that she can do or say that will have me reject her.
Yeah, good. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So we're gonna go into our next segment, um, called "Getting to the Core" segment. And so, "Getting to the Core" segment is a segment that is based off the ebook, "The Core Four," which is the four core values that every daughter should get from her father. That I wrote. My audience, you guys can get your copy of the Core Four at ebooks by ejames.com. Again, that's ebooks by ejames.com. And the name of it again is the Core Four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. And so I wrote this out of my experience as a brother, having five sisters, as a father of a girl dad, and uh, the backstory of the girl dad discussions was coming to the realization that every woman I've ever dated in my life was a fatherless daughter. And that's how I
Wow.
even got into this space. And so, taking all those things in consideration, I came up with the core four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. And so, they are guidance, affirmations, love and affection, and the fourth one is protection. And so, out of those four, just as a father, in your own words, which one would probably be the most important to you? They all are important. Important, we definitely know that. But which one, probably from your point of view, would be the one that would probably be most important? That, you know what, I think I would uh, definitely pour this one more so. If any of them, any of the values yourself, which one would be probably more important to you to instill in your daughter?
Yeah, those are great. It's definitely four core essential ingredients to
Yeah.
build in this person. Love and affection come to mind for me. Just being a man of faith, right? I believe in God. God is love, and for made in his image, right? Love is within me, and for me to show her, right, not just tell her like, "Hey, I love you." No, I got to show, to be that affectionate. To, there's so many pictures, videos of me just like holding on, like, I love your podcast, graphic your image, right? Just like cheek to cheek, just like that, right? That safety that your daughter has with you, like, I could just be like that, I could just lean on him, right? It's these little things, and it doesn't have to be this big show production of like, I love you. Look at the look at the stuff I got you and I did for you. It can be as simple as me just sitting down next to her on the couch. You don't have to say anything. We don't have to. We could just read a book together, watch a show together, right? And I think those things are going to be more impactful for her. Have been more impactful for her to know that. All right, yeah, I'm loved. And that also feeds into those other things like, all right, I'm loved, so I know this man will protect me with his life. I know this man is going to guide me in my best interest, even sometimes when I don't feel like it is, right? But I know he's looking out for me the best way that he can. And so I think love and affection's, right there at the top of that list.
All right, all right. So the ebook is the core four values, but if there could be a fifth value that you could add yourself, what would that fifth value be?
I would say commitment. Commitment to her own excellence, commitment to whatever it is that she wants to do in life. Because and it's gonna sound hokey, it's gonna sound corny, but like, she can do anything. But like, I really believe that. I've seen her do amazing things in athletics, with Taekwondo. I've seen her dig into a different place within her where she didn't think she had an extra gear, and she's shown that. So I know that's in there. She's my daughter, so she's got the dog, right? She's got that dog in her, and I think that all comes down to being committed to herself, committed to her own happiness, committed to her own pursuits, and commitment to her own values of what she will say yes to, what she will say no to, and being firm with that. And especially a young woman of color, of mixed races, she's gonna have a lot more scrutiny come her way, and so she's good. And I can be tough on her sometimes, but I only do that because I know that I'm molding this beautiful creature who's going to go into an ugly world. And so her commitment's going to be the separator between the people in her life that will flake, that will kind of whatever, and versus who she's meant to be with, like the top of the top.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. I want to thank you, Alex, man, for coming on and sharing with us. I want you to have the last word, to leave something with. Have you feel inspirational, maybe something for the daughters or something for the dads. Have you feel. But I want you to have the last word, and also to share your social media platforms and things of that, where we can stay in touch with you. I'll give you a couple minutes to think about that. To my listeners, make sure you guys are staying up to part with us and following us on our websites. So we have the dealhealfulfill.org. That's dealhealfulfill.org. On that website, which is our main website, what should I say, my main website. You can find more about things that I have going on as far as being a speaker, and even hiring me, booking me to be a speaker, to come speak to your school or organization, as well as workshops and things like that. Also, we have our Deal to Heal tees, which are inspirational t-shirt line, and also the ebooks by ejames.com, where, again, you can get your copy of the core four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. Also, make sure that you guys are subscribed to our text line. Just text the word subscribe to the number 866-326-0730 to receive text message about new episodes, ebook releases, and also event information. Last but not least, I've been blessed to be a part of a organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And one of the things that we do, we have free virtual workshops every quarter of the year talking about forgiveness, what it is, what it's not, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others. I definitely think it is a very valuable resource. Anytime that you're listening, whenever you're listening to this podcast, either one just ended or one is coming up. Again, it's a free virtual workshop. Don't cost you anything. You can go to forgivenessmission.com in order to sign up, or you can go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Mission Workshop, and you should be able to sign up and register there for free to take part in our free virtual workshops. And I told you guys at the beginning, I would tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast. You can win $100 by becoming one of our by entering, should I say, our super subscriber contest, which means what you must do, you must subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, and to our podcast on Spotify. After you've done those three things, text the word WIN, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win the $100. The contest is ongoing and is random. So once you're in, you can always win. You don't have to re-up. But just make sure when you text the word WIN, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730, you also include your contact information, which is your name, your phone number, and your email address. We have people that text the word WIN, but they don't send any information. So we can't contact you if you win $100, right? So make sure that when you do text the word WIN, you also give your information so that we can contact you if you are our next $100 super subscriber contest winner. All right. Again, Mr. Alex, I want to say thank you very much for coming on and to sharing your story and your expertise as a girl dad and your experiences. I definitely appreciate it. And I'm sure our listeners and our dads also appreciate it. I want you to have the last word. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, first of all, for just doing what you're doing, being who you're being, and having these conversations, these discussions, and allowing fathers like myself to share our experiences, and for others to learn from them, and cement the importance of this calling, this response, this thing that we've been anointed to do, of leading young ladies, young girls into the path of being sovereign, being independent, being strong, being just being themselves. I think that's the most important thing. And this is something I shared that on my daily podcast, and I hope that for your audience that these words resonate for themselves, and they get to see who they're being as they're being fathers, right? In the moments that we're stressed, we're tired, we don't want to hear, we've heard the story before, we don't want to deal with things, right? Recognize like all these moments are super precious. It's in those moments that when we don't think they're watching, or we don't think they're listening, or we don't think that they're appreciating us, they're not respecting us, that's when they need us the most. So if you're having a space of, man, why am I doing this? This is too difficult. Just remember that this little thing you brought into the world is counted on you, and it's an awesome responsibility, right? And enjoy it so much. Enjoy who this I say creature, but right, enjoy what this creation is, because it flies by. Right, I look now, right, at 13, and yeah, she's young, but I also recognize that I only have a few summers left with her really being here with me, 4, maybe 5, give or take. Like, oh, I only have like a few. This is it. Like, this clock is moving. She's on her own in a sense. I mean, obviously, I'll always be there. Whatever she needs, I'm there. But as far as my influence, my ability to kind of guidance away, those chain, that grip is loosening. And the last those words I'll share with you right now is that remember that you're born to live your life in abundance. Right? You're the master of your future and control your freedom. You have complete dominance of your thoughts, your emotions, and your habits. And for you dads out there, think about your daughter, right? They're born to live their lives abundantly. They are the masters of their future, right? They really have conscious ability to decide, to choose who they want to be, where they want to go. And we can't stop all the thoughts that come in our head, but we can dominate what we pay attention to, what we focus on. So you being the example, you lead the charge for her. You be the stand for her that nobody else will be. And that comes with what it comes with. It comes with, Daddy, I love you. Daddy, I hate you. Door slammed. You signed up for it, so you got to have you buckle up for that ride. But it's the most beautiful ride you could ever take.
All right, and we can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys and girls for tuning in one more time to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where we believe that the relationship between the dad and the daughter is one of the most important relationships in a young woman's life. And so that's why we aim to add value and information and to combat the narrative of the fatherless daughter and the absent dad, letting you guys know that we are out here, we do exist, and we are putting in work as girl dads. Until next time, you all be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast on all your podcast listening platforms. Also, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with someone else. That the Girl Dad Discussions podcast is on the air. Until next time, be blessed.
Dads, being a dad is the most rewarding and most exhausting responsibility you have. In the whirlwind of life, you have so many things that demand your attention. Sometimes making memories with your kids takes a back seat. But it doesn't have to be that way. Join me, Aaron, a dad of 4 kids, on the Dad Ventures podcast, where we dive deep on the adventure of a literal lifetime, being a dad. We'll explore science-backed parenting strategies, review books and gear, and interview parenting experts with a special emphasis on being a dad. At Dad Ventures, we champion and celebrate dads and the unique value they pour into their kids. New episodes are live every Friday. Head over to wherever you listen to podcasts and find the Dad Ventures podcast, or go to adventures.dad and tap the podcast link at the top of the page.